You've been updating us on the daily registrations. You made some mistakes recently. Have you probed how those mistakes were made?
Well, we looked at it and we noticed that it wasn't a very serious mistake. What happened was that we had the total figures for the number of days. I think they were about 5 days or so. We had the total figures. So in the disaggregation for the daily figures, that's when we didn't put the right numbers. But for the total numbers, so if you looked at those particular infograph that went out, there was a particular one which was a bar graph. The bar graph had a total of 143,000 or so. That was the cumulative for the entire 5 days, which was correct at the time. So the problem was with the individual math for the day. So that's where we had the problem. So anyone who was I would say anyone who was a casual observer of the processes will even conclude that, oh, when you look at the total for the 5 days, it was actually
in fact,
correct.
The NDC called you out immediately. You published that. Omani Boama, who leads your election arrangement now, said clearly from the start when he saw it that there's something fundamentally wrong with the numbers you're putting out.
No, I think usually an institution like the EC, when you put something out, definitely people will have several views about it. And I know Dr. Omani Boama is entitled to his adroit interpretation of
except
matters.
that this one was pointing out an error.
No, pointing out an error, but I made an earlier point that we had a total of 143,000 or so, which was also published. So anyone who wanted to do a quality job or wanted to do an objective job will realize that in spite of the fact that the individual days had the errors in it, still the total was correct. So there was no problem with the totals for the entire.
But the individual days had an error.
The individual, what was happening, this the infograph work, you are putting the numbers in, you are slotting in the numbers. So what happened was that in one of the days, the Ashanti region had about, 9,000 or so. And instead of putting the 9,000, they put about 3,000 or so. And when Ashanti region had the 3,000, they put the 9,000. So it changed the figures dramatically.
I mean, can I put it that those are serious errors, considering the high stakes this year?
No, I don't think they are serious because
it goes to feed into an existing perception, but also based on what happened in 2020, where in the presidential elections you had to come back and make some changes because of errors that have been made. That instantly raises puts people on edge, considering what has happened, and then it's happened in the voter registration exercise. It is fundamentally a very serious error.
Frankly, I made a point that we had the total. I think the first day, did we have 16,000, then it went to 19,000, then it went to, I think, about 40 something. So all the figures for each of the days, we got them right in the tabulation. But as I said, what the specific for the individual days. So what should have gone to second day went to the third day. So that's why I said anyone who wanted to do an objective assessment of the whole issue.
You're not suggesting Omani Boama wasn't doing an objective assessment.
He wasn't, because that's why
he wasn't doing an objective assessment.
Did he comment on the total figure? He didn't.
No, but he commented on the error.
No, the total figures were right.
Yeah, but there was an error on the face of what you had published about the individual days.
The total figures were right. The individual days figures will give you the total, and I said the total figures were correct. And I understand. We find ourselves in a highly charged adversarial political environment. So people read several meanings.
But that's what I put to you, that this one was not one of those that somebody was reading meaning into it. The EC made an error. And as the head of their elections, management system, he pointed it out.
He pointed, that's why I said to do an objective assessment, you needed to have looked at the conclusion. That's why nobody pointed out the totals.
The point is that EC should not be making
which we understand, and that's why we quickly corrected.